Welcome to the JAMODI podcast. We are all surrounded by amazing coaches and leaders. So let's get an inside look at not just what they do, but how they do what they do. After all, becoming the best versions of ourselves is JAMODI, just a matter of doing it. Coaches, the JAMODI podcast is powered by Shoot 360. The future of basketball has arrived in Dallas-Fort Worth. Shoot 360 combines the latest sports technology with the fundamentals of basketball skill development. The result is a one-of-a-kind video game-like basketball program designed to improve your shooting, dribbling, and passing. Visit shoot360dfw.com to learn more and register for your free 1-hour workout evaluation. Shoot 360, the future of basketball is here. What's one of the best things that you've borrowed lately, since when we're talking right now, it's the spring. This is the time where I feel like, so many are reevaluating some of the things or systems that they have in place. I can't even imagine in your position where, even though you're getting to carry over some of the culture pieces that you've already put in place, you have this admiration for the previous head coach that you work for. But couldn't imagine, I mean, you want to have some of your own imprint and on the program. So what are the things that you're looking forward to borrowing right now?
Yeah, so the two things I'll start off with have been interview things that I've borrowed. So I talked to one of my good friends is a guy, Jeff Bowles, who's the head coach at Ohio University. His son plays on my AAU team, and Coach Bowles has been, man, he's just been awesome to get to know and to just collaborate with on these AAU weekends. Like, he's out there watching his son and he's supporting his son, and it's crazy to think you have a D1 coach, right, that his son's on your team. And like, I kid you not, like, he stays out of it. Like, he doesn't talk to me about playing time. He doesn't talk to me about, like, oh, you need to be doing this, like, whatever. Like, if I ask him, like, we've had different basketball talks, right, when I've talked to him about this or asked him to pick his brain, but he's never once talked to me about how I'm coaching his son, how much playing time his son's getting, or anything like that,
Wow.
which has been really cool to see. It's been really cool and refreshing. But a share that he had with me, I was talking to him about going through the interview process and some things that he's done different. One of the things that he really pointed out to me and helped me with was helping the AD see you in themselves. And so, like, he talked to me about how, to really research your athletic director, because that's like going to be your boss, that's going to be your guy, and make those connections of how have your careers aligned.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah.
And how can you make that connection so he can say, oh, I can see myself in Micah. Right. And that really, honestly, I know for a fact it was a difference maker. It was truly a difference
Talk
maker.
about a wow. I mean, a wow moment. Like, that's what you only have a few of those moments with people, especially right at the very beginning I can't imagine in Texas right now, if there's a head coaching job, there's over 100 applicants for it.
Right.
I don't care what level. I can't imagine a college job right now, how many people are coming through. So yeah, that's a huge tip right there.
Yeah, it was and just how simple he made it was, like, I was like, wow, like, it was, I felt kind of like, dang, I can't believe I haven't thought about that. But then at the same time, I was like,
thinking back to all the interviews that, golly, I messed that one up.
yeah. So it was good. So that's definitely a share. And also along those interview lines, Edward LeBlanc from PGC, a PGC director, and he runs his own court sessions and things. I talked to him about some interview things, and he just talked to me about, answering the question, but also answering the question how you want to answer the question. And I talked to him about how I was kind of frustrated with some of the questions I was asking in a previous interview, and he was talking to me about, listen, like, always answer the question, right? But make sure you answer it how you want to answer it, and it's your interview, and like, you have to own that question a little bit. And to me, it was just like a little switch, a little tip for me of like, yeah, like, I'm gonna answer your question, but I'm also, I'm gonna make sure it's me answering the question, and I'm setting it up how I want this, conversation to go. And so Ed LeBlanc and Jeff, Bowles, they both really helped me, and we're two shares that I implemented right away going through these last couple weeks of interviewing for the head coaching spot here at Wilmington. So yeah, I'll use those for now. I have some basketball ones too, but I don't want to, keep going for you.
Go with the basketball ones.
Yeah, I've done a lot of work this past spring with Tyler Costin with his race and space, cohorts, and so I actually obviously I've known Tyler for savvy basketball baby. So I've known TC now for a really long time. Been a mentor, a friend, a brother in a lot of ways for a lot of years now, and how he's teaching the game of basketball and how he's broken it down is very special. And him just going through his race and space offense and fine tuning the simplicity of it and also the creativity of it at the same time is very unique. And so I've been able to implement a lot of our race and space stuff with our AAU team. And it's been so great to see them how they've grown as players. And early on, we actually, just a quick story, we scrimmaged this team, and they beat us early on because they were running sets and they were running plays. And our guys are coming out of high school where that's kind of their norm. And I'm trying to really get them to grasp on how to play the game of basketball and to play in space more and don't rely on plays and things. And so early on, they beat us. And several of our first time we scrimmaged them. And then we played them this past 2 weekends ago in the championship of the tournament we were in, and we beat them by 20. And they couldn't run any of their actions, right? We were denying stuff, and we were up pressure. So
are you locked left with them as well?
We don't, but I would say we emphasize hard we can, but we aren't fully locked left, but definitely forcing we can.
Yeah.
And so, from a defensive standpoint, they couldn't run any of their actions, right? And our guys we were dicing them up a little bit, moving and cutting and spacing and playing fast and not having to call any plays. It was definitely one of those moments that I was just like, yeah, man, this is good. This is good.
Yeah, for anybody that, is interested in learning more about Tyler, obviously all of his savvy shooting, his lock left, his race in space, and he was actually the second episode that I ever put out. I've been going back through some of those early episodes with a notebook because I don't want the things that we talked about just to kind of be floating out there, that I hope I remember some of the nuggets. And man, I think I was like through 4 pages of notes through his episode. But yeah, for coaches out there that want a more creative way of playing where players get to play on instinct and get to read each other and they make plays, that's a good system to look into.
Absolutely.
What was the other thing? Because you had 2 basketball ones, I thought.
Yeah. The other one was truly just the importance of skill development and just the importance of everyday skill development. So there's been a lot of one-on-one things I've been working on with our skill development, but the big one is this idea of like not tiptoeing when you're attacking the basket. And what I mean by tiptoeing is like, yeah, there's a part where you want to be reading the play, but just making sure every time you go to attack the paint and inside the 3-point line, like it's with intent. Otherwise we're not going. Like we're not going inside the 3-point line unless it's with an intent of getting to the rack or an intent of forcing help to make a play or whatever. But this idea of like so many players just kind of just tiptoe and just kind of go, and they're not really going anywhere and they're not really causing anything. And so I've really been trying to borrow as many one-on-one and just like attack the basket things as I can find. And obviously I've been able to grow that through PGC a ton and learn from there, but I've found some new different like kind of one-on-one attack series and stuff like that I've been able to see a difference in my guys. And yeah, it's awesome, man, when you see your players grow from not being able to fully attack the basket to get to the basket, and now they're struggling to kind of finish. And now, man, I'm confident, like when my guys, my AAU team, like when they're attacking, they're finishing. And it's been a process, but to see them get to that point is just so encouraging, and it's fun to watch.
But I think your order is correct in the fact that you're teaching them to aggressively attack the paint with a focus to score. Yeah. That purpose right there gives them the tools, the mentality to get there often.
Yes.
If there's no direction, or even just get to the paint, you'll have guys, like you said, tiptoeing, or
Yeah.
the paint actually goes up pretty high. They can
Right.
still be 15 feet away from the basket in the paint. You tell a kid we're attacking the paint to score, where
Yes.
you want to have that scoring mentality. Then once they are developing that mentality, those skills, we're struggling with finishing. And you can start to pinpoint what types of finishes do we need to work on, what types of spin, what kind of accountability can we use during that skill work to help. That's the right order, but I think it's reversed quite a bit. Finish, 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 but no emphasis on really attacking the score. You see players never using those skills that they were working on early. That's just my opinion.
No, I love it. I think that's a great. I don't think that's an opinion. I really think that's a great assessment of it. You know, you spend so much time on, yeah, finishing, finishing, finishing. But if you don't get that intent to attack the paint and be able to play through contact and all that other stuff, you can have every spin in the book, every jelly you want, and everything else. But if you can't get there, it does not. It doesn't matter. And then the other piece of that, as you know, right, is you'll have players that when they first start to do it, game speed against really good defenses and things like that, like they're typically not that successful early on, right? Because you got to get used to it. But then once they do it and they do it again and they do it again, then they start to finish and they get that little bit of success, and then it's kind of like they're hooked. Then at that point they kind of get hooked. But so many players, they don't make it through that progression, right? They don't learn how to consistently attack the paint, and then they don't learn how to play through those misses and kind of those mistakes. So then they never get to the end result of like, oh yeah, I'm an attacker, right? They kind of just they don't make it. They don't make it through it.
And that's a little bit of the art of it, right? That's kind of our responsibility. Is we almost have to praise them for the things that we know they'll be able to do,
Yes.
not the things that they're doing in that moment. Because if we're just coaching on that, or acknowledging the fact that they're struggling, like it's not enough. But praising them, like, hey, what you're doing right now is going to translate and is going to create this opportunity.
Yes.
And to help that buy-in. Because you're right, once someone has seen success in something, you typically get buy-in, but it's that early part that's really tough.
Yeah, and I'll ask you this. So for me, I've been able to see this in summer camps. I've been able to see this in a college career, right? Because you get a guy as a freshman and you progress them along sophomore, junior, senior. AAU, I've been able to see it because I get these guys from these high school programs where not all programs are the same and not all players are being coached the same. So, they're nervous about it early, the mistake. And then once they realize that, well, when they're playing for Coach Mills, that mistakes are, we can do that, we can play through it and things like that. And they get that progression. But for you at the high school level, is that something that you have to take your lens on and off, or your focus on and off of, like, at this point in time in the year, we can focus more on the mistakes. And at this point in time in the year, it's more definitely like, hey, results based? Or how do you kind of navigate that, especially with like the skill development and seeing it in game?
That's really good. I think first off, you and I, because we're like-minded in the way offensively, like with Tyler, and even though some of my terminology is probably different,
Yep.
We're creating space, we're creating advantages, and we want guys to shoot open shots, if not attack, if not move the ball. So like it's a lot on the same lines. Because of that, our skill work, or any individual skill work that we choose, can really build into what the actions that we're asking them to do. I think that's a flaw or a problem with running sets after sets after sets that ask players to do a lot of different things, or only a few different players, is how do you choose the skill work that you're actually going to put them through? Because the cool thing with a free flowing offense like we run is there is just a huge world full of individual skill pieces, games, accountability drills, or tools that we can use to help them do what we know that we want them to do. So that's the first thing that what to kind of answer your question. Rarely, especially in skill work and in practice, is it about results. It's always about that process of getting more dynamic, getting to the paint, making those reads, celebrating when they do those things right. If they're coming from a program like in your case that's not what they do, acknowledging with them and yourself that it's going to take a lot of time, and then you might not see the benefit, or you might not see the growth at the rate that we want it to happen. But that's where you've got, like, as coaches, I feel like we've got to be strong in our resolve, because when something's not working right, they're not getting it. You hear they're just not getting it. That really what we're saying there is, in games it's not working, and it's resulting in turnovers, bad shots, or maybe even losses. But if you truly believe in that, what you're teaching them will help them to improve and they will get it in time, then you don't scrap it or go to something else just because it's not working. Coaches will ask, like, because we do that, well, what if you play a bigger, faster, stronger team? Well, we might lose. Like, that's the truth. Right. I just haven't seen a style that works against everyone.
Right.
But here, I feel good about the fact that I'm teaching them how to play individually. They can all get better. And if it's a select program, they will go back to their high school teams better for whatever they run. What we're teaching, it will help, because everybody wants guys that can knock it down, that can make the quick read to move the ball, or they can attack the paint and either finish or transfer, right? Like that's the key.
Yeah. So good. That's that approach, man. I love it. That's what it needs to be. So that's appreciate you.
I don't know if I answered that. I don't know if I answered your question.
No, you talked about it, just like you said earlier, like anytime you're in a skill session or practice, you're not focused on the result. It's definitely that process based and getting there. Because it's so hard. I see it a ton, and to be that type of coach, and getting these players from different programs at the college level, it's a hard mindset to break sometimes in our guys, of them understanding that it is a process. Because what sometimes happens at our level, when you get these guys 18, 19 now, right? They are embarrassed to make mistakes.
Yeah.
They don't want to go through whatever, ball handling segment we're doing that is forcing them to lose the ball. So instead of going better and losing it, they go a little slower, or they, don't go as crisp and things. And so it takes some time to break that habit and to break that mindset of like, I can't make a mistake, or I don't want to make a mistake in front of my players.
Yeah.
The best ones do. The best ones get there. The best ones get there. But sometimes they struggle. They struggle to do it initially.
Well, and unfortunately too, you're probably getting players that, and not every program, but are coming from programs where they were the best player, and so they only saw their teammates getting embarrassed, or they came from a culture where if you make a mistake, you're going to get yelled at. Mm-hmm. They don't want to do that again. So, because I know you and the culture that you are, from PGC, but then also that you have there. Mm-hmm. I think it's up to us to give them that environment, because the style that we're talking about is full of errors and turnovers are going to happen. Yeah. Especially at the beginning of the season. And so it's kind of like what we went back to, like, we are constantly telling them how close they are. Yep. But because we're telling them how close they are, that means that there was a mistake. It's not perfect. But we're really close. Like, we're almost there. And then you might be saying that all the way through. And then those beautiful click moments that you get in this style of play, where the ball, we up it, we rip hard, we get to the paint off a stride stop, we air them, we kick, we boom 1, 2, or we click, boom for a 3. Like, And when it happens, we all look at each other and there's this satisfaction, and that feeds the machine of going farther. But yeah, I think you're right on the money. We have to allow our players, create an environment where they can make the mistakes necessary to become good at what we're asking them to do.
Yeah, no doubt. I can't say it any better. I cannot say that any better.
Thank you for checking out today's episode. Please take a moment to subscribe to this podcast, share it with your fellow coaches, and find us on social media for what's coming up next on the JAMODI podcast. It's just a matter of doing it.